Welcome to the Opinionated Prepper. I'm Steve. Man, it's a pretty good day today. I went out first thing this morning and actually saw my breath. I'm excited about that. You couldn't have given me better news, short of hearing that I was about to have a granddaughter and then hearing that there's a good possibility I'm going to have another granddaughter. Short of that, seeing my breath, the best news ever. Today, I would like to talk to you about certain things that you need to have. Right now, the entire world, I don't want to say the entire world, I want to say people in my circle, because the people in my circle are my entire world. I live in a 3-foot bubble. Right now, they're losing their nut because of all of the attacks that are coming around. I don't think it matters how we get attacked, from what angle we get attacked. I don't care. I'm a firm believer that if you're prepared, it won't matter if it's an invasion from the south, or an invasion from the skies, or an invasion from a microscopic thing that gets you from the inside, or a spiritual invasion, an attack. It's not going to matter because you're prepared for the circumstances. So, other than I want to talk about the things you need to survive, okay? And I'm not talking about survival tools. That's always going to be different. Unless you live in the same area that I live, and unless you have the same type of family with the same amount of family members, it's all going to differ. So I can't really give you a good tip on what survival tools you need. There's basic things, but there's always going to be something that I need that you don't, or something that you need that I don't. And I'm not going to risk that. I don't want somebody to say, okay, I got everything that the Opinionated Prepper said I needed, so I'm set. And then when Teotihuacan comes, him shaking his fist saying, damn you, OP, I don't want that. So I'm not really going to do the whole tips. You can look down, you can use your head and figure it out. But I'm going to start with basic categories, pretty much. And I'm going to say how things can come and how they're actually attacking us on that front. I think everything, if you've watched the video, I think everything, it all points to and leads to lack of food, control of food, move to a synthetic food, and all the good stuff for the people who can afford it. But that's for our physical. I'm a Bible believer, and I believe that everything from the history of the fall until now has been a spiritual attack. And that seems to be coming. We're going to start with that one first, because that's separate from physical. I mean, they're connected, but you have different categories of what you need for physical, and you have one thing of what you need for spiritual. You need God. You need, in Ephesians, put on the full armor of God. But how are they attacking us? All of the concerts that went on this past summer with all of the big named people giving arena concerts, they took a very, very sharp, twisted turn. Before, it was hidden and subliminal. It was occult. Now it's right out in the open to where they're flashing just plain names, and dressing up like Satan himself, doing all of these things, witchcraft, chanting, rituals on stage, showing mind control with hypnotizing that black and white spinny freaking thing. You look into any videos, you look into really much music, into what artists are saying, that they have control and influence over our young adults if you're not guarding your young adults. Completely satanic. Completely. And it's influencing and it's infesting. You have the alphabet mafia a couple of years ago, for a few years, coming and bombarding your children and bombarding us by saying we have no choice but to let our children see it and to have our children around it and for us to deal with it and all of that stuff. Now that has kind of taken a back seat. You just don't hear about it as much. You don't hear about the shows that were being protested. You don't hear about the story hours that were being protested. You do see a possible G of the alphabet that used to be our president, that might possibly be married to a T, that might run, so we'll have an out of the closet T for a president. You might see that. You're starting to see that, but one of the huge spiritual things is now that the story hours and stuff from that onslaught is taking a back seat. A couple of months ago they said that 3 states, I believe, Pennsylvania, Ohio, maybe North Carolina, they have satanic after school activities. And at first I kind of passed it off. I thought it was funny. I'm like, well, we all know the group of people that are going to be in there because we kind of went to school with them, or we kind of were them. I was one of them, were them. I mean, I wasn't a whole, horns with the fingers sticking your tongue out and stuff. Well, I mean, I probably had done that a couple of times. But the whole, Rage Against the Machine and escape the authority and listen to major heavy metal music that was dark and stuff. I was one of those. Long hair, believe it or not. Old age will take that away quick. But I saw pictures just today that had people dressed up in very, very realistic, expensive costumes of bigger than average 6, 7, 8 foot tall characters of Baphomet and demons that looked actually like real. Thousands of dollars had to have been, maybe tens of thousands for these costumes. But all the kids were sitting around as these people dressed in these creature costumes, these demon costumes, were reading to them. So they're having a story hour. They were all sitting inside a sigil and inside pentagrams, and all of the kids had pentagram headbands and dressed in black and red and hats with horns, and all of that stuff. And it made me sick, disgusted, that I kind of in myself, because I passed it off as it was going to be one of the, like an awkward teen after school extracurricular activity club. And it's for kindergartners and first and second and third graders in those 3 states. And if I remember correctly, all 3 of those states are purple. Kind of, I believe. We've always had issues. Sometimes vote for this, sometimes vote for that. So the spiritual onslaught is hugely real. I posted a video like 6 days ago, kind of doing a lighthearted, oh no, alien invasion, well, I'll be dogged that 6 days later, not even a week later, Mexico says, we have a body, we'll give it to Congress, they can do their own thing. And a week later, to the day, and the next day, NASA tomorrow, or today, because I'm doing this video today for tomorrow, because I've already done one yesterday for today. Yeah, I think we did that right. But today, for you guys, NASA went on. I'll probably do another video talking about that because it hasn't happened yet, and it's something that, is kind of important. Just keep your eye on it, especially for comic relief. But a lot of people believe that this onslaught project, Blue Beam, unify the world, come together against the alien threat, or a one world religion, because it'll be a universal Jesus where we're all worshiping and blah blah blah. But a lot of people believe that if it's not 100% man-made fake, that it's demons, fallen angels, and it's a spiritual thing. And if we see aliens, that's going to test a lot of people's spiritual resolve. So how do you get yourself spiritually ready? Man, you need to unplug from this secular, nasty, disgusting world. Secular actually means, divided, worldly, all that stuff. But you need to unplug from that. Turn off the crap. Unplug the earphones from the crap. Keep it out of your kids' eyes and ears. Open a Bible. I can't say watch biblically based stuff on TV, because a lot of the stuff that passes as Christian nowadays, I don't like the message. And I mean, Chosen is good, but you still have to be on your guard against that, because it's giving a false narrative and it's painting things in the wrong context. So it can be misleading. And we all know that it says in the Bible that we'll be misled by a lot of different things. He disguises himself as an angel of light. So you could think something's good intentions, but all it is just drawing you away from the true message of God. That's what you need to be on guard for spiritually. Okay, now that I say that, because I try to keep it separate for all of my ones and ones of fans out there that don't believe in biblical things. So I'll switch. I try to keep that separate and do it on the weekends. So my apologies. Thank you for bearing with me. If you're spiritual or not, leave me a comment. Tell me what you think about the whole thing. Because I know what I need to do spiritually, but what do you think? Do you think that this is a spiritual onslaught when it comes to Blue Beam and release of all these UFOs and stuff like that? Do you think the UFOs are real? Do you think they're a manifestation of something wicked? Let me know if you don't mind. And give me a thumbs up. Now we'll move on to oxygen that you need for 3 minutes. Are you going to be able to breathe? There's a lot of onslaughts, with volcanic activity that we see, with wildfires that we see, with droughts, with tornadoes, with hurricanes, with flash floods, and even with earthquakes, because earthquakes can give off toxic gas. Are you going to be able to breathe? Do you have yourself set up where you have at least a safe room where you can get some clean, filtered air to come in? Because if you don't, there's no reason to worry about all of this, because you're not going to be around. Don't worry about wasting your money. Don't worry about buying a piece of land and going out to the middle of the woods and chopping down trees, building your own cabin, growing your own, get this, get that, get everything, becoming a hermit and 100% self-sustainable. Don't worry about it, because you're only going to see about 3 minutes of terror. So that's vitally important. I'm not saying run out and get gas masks. If you're afraid of this stuff, and I don't want to say afraid, but if you're concerned that it might be, unbreathable air due to any circumstance, grab a gas mask. Get some air filters. Get yourself clean, breathable air. See if you can buy some oxygen tanks, for Pete's sake. Do something, because if you're going to prep to be able to eat and drink and everything like that, you need to prep to be able to breathe. All right? I want to touch on medical, because this is one thing, because I'm a little bit worried. Not worried. When I say worried, I mean concerned, and when I say concerned, I mean I'm taking notice, and that's something on my list that's higher up on priorities, is your medicine, your ability to find alternatives to pharmaceuticals, getting back to holistic and natural remedies, cures, being able to fight a bacterial infection, be able to fight a viral infection, be able to fight any infection, be able to mend bones, be able to relieve pain, be able to bring down a fever for the infection, anything like that, because a little microscopic thing will take you down. And again, when it comes to that, if you don't have that ready and prepared, it does not matter how much you have to eat or drink or how self-sustainable you are. You're not going to be around long. Especially now with genetically modified mosquitoes being dropped into Florida, and I'll be malaria and dengue fever cases are starting to climb. Now with the potential of the sniffle, sneeze, cough, jab coming back, and them just conveniently coming out with a thing that goes in one of the arms that's going to battle 3 different winter viruses and the cough, sniffle, sneeze, cough. That's one of the things that they're protecting about. But they're attacking us internally with viruses, whether they be man-made, whether they be natural. They're shortening the supply. They're shortening our ability to be able to take care of it ourselves, more or less to the fact of forcing us to go and get pharmaceutical help. So you need to prepare yourself for that. When it comes to the water, many things can contaminate your water. You have a pipe burst here, you have a flood, and nastiness gets into your water source. You have a drought, and you don't have any water. You have contrails, you have, any of that stuff, ash from anything, earthquakes, rubble. I mean, anything can contaminate your water. If you can even get water, do you have a way to clean it? Do you have a way to filter it? Do you have a way to boil it, purify it? And do you have enough of it for yourself, for your family, for your animals, to wash, to cook, to clean, to bathe, to take care of your laundry? Everything that you need, because hygiene is still very important, and most people don't think about it. I don't know a whole heck of a lot of people that has a year, 2 years supply of toothpaste and mouthwash and dental floss. I don't know anybody that has very many like dental emergency kits in their kits, whether it be a pack, or something to be able to fill filling that comes out. A lot of people don't think about that. So do you have enough water to be able to do that? When you're thinking about physical and dental hygiene, in a way, to me, that brings it back to medical, because if you don't take care of yourself, you're going to get sick. So you have to take care of spiritual first. Do your medical, because that's very imperative. Do your breathing, because it's very imperative. You need clean air. Do your drinking, because drinking is the 3 days from the 3 minutes of not being able to breathe. Make sure you have an A water source. Make sure you have primary, secondary, tertiary. Find everything that you possibly can, and stock up just in case all of those sources dry up, get contaminated, or get taken over by a gang of marauders that want you to pay a toll to be able to get it. I say that partly in jest, but quite possible, and most likely, depending on how bad it is. We'll switch to a 3 hour. Now, I know a lot of people don't think about a 3 hour. They think about 3 threes, 3 minutes, 3 days, 3 weeks. 3 hours, I've heard it say. I don't know, I'm not going to limit it to 3 hours. It all depends on what time of year, where you're at, everything like that. But it's still very important. You have to take care of your shelter. Are you going to be able to get in out of the elements? Can you cool yourself down if it's too hot? Can you heat yourself up if it's too cold? And do you have some sort of energy source? Doesn't necessarily have to be to make electricity, but it is to generate a heat. Even if that energy source is your own body heat, wrapped in tin foil upon sleeping bag inside a tent. You need to be able to take care of yourself, because hypothermia can set in 40, 50 degree weather. If you get too hot, you're going to need to go under your house, because you can die from a stroke too. It's not just hypothermia you have to worry about. Are you going to be able to stay dry? Are you going to be able to stay moderately temperature controlled, to where you won't get too cold, you won't get too hot? You have to take care of your shelter too. Moving on to the 3 weeks, do you have enough food? Well, I'll give some examples about how they're attacking us with shelter. Look at the economy and look at the banks. Look that they're trying to do a CBDC. Look at the interest rates that went up. Look at how the value and the cost of houses have doubled. It's very hard to be able to make rent on your own nowadays. Almost impossible to buy a house. You can't really get a loan anymore. They're going to do away with cash and go to a CBDC, which is going to control, which means that If they decide that you don't need as much house as you have, they won't give you an allotment or a ration for the value of the house. They think you can get an apartment for a much cheaper price, so you can just get rid of all of the stuff that you have. That's a strong possibility, but it's how they're attacking the housing, and they're trying to get it from you. So you have to take care of your shelter. Don't get something that's too expensive. Don't get something that's too hard to heat or cool, where you're going to need to spend an arm and a leg for electricity or anything. Keep a lock on your finances to control your shelter, and then get an alternate form, whether it be a gasifier to create electricity, or you get a fireplace or a wood stove and you load up on all of the timber you can possibly get. Whether you put 2, 3, 5, 15, 250 pound propane tanks buried in your yard, and you have enough propane to last you until Jesus comes himself. You need to do something to be able to establish that. Make sure you have home repair items, as in shingles and insulation and screws and lumber and the tools you need and plumbing supplies and glue and the fittings for it. Make sure you have all of that stuff. And if you don't have all of that stuff, make sure you can substitute one thing for another. Because I'll tell you what, taking your shirt off and wrapping it around a water leak or something like that isn't going to last very long. So you need to have that, and along with that, you need to have knowledge on how to repair the stuff, because you might not find anybody to do it for you. So now we'll move to the food and the 3 weeks. That's where I think the key thing, that's why all of these things are happening, to regulate food, to put a lock on food, to control the food supply, to ration it, to move you over to a synthetic food. We're getting attacked on all fronts. Crops are failing all around. People that have it don't want to get rid of it, and people that need it are trying to search for it. Prices are through the roof when it comes to food. They're attacking our ability to preserve the food by making cans of thinner metal where they can rupture and be compromised easier, putting pull tabs on most things that will cave in and won't be as sturdy. You can lose the seal on that. Diluting vinegar so you can't preserve your food. They're attacking us from all sides when it comes to food. Shortages, supply lines, cost, availability, the ability to procure it and preserve it. We're being attacked. So you need to stock, and stock heavily on the stuff that you eat and the stuff that your family eats. If you don't like oatmeal and you buy a 25-year supply that's made up of oatmeal every day, you're not going to eat it. Stock up for what you will eat. If you don't like eating greens, don't buy greens. If you don't like lentils, don't buy lentils. You're going to waste your money. And yeah, even though it may be a last-ditch decision, you're still going to try and avoid it at all costs. So it's kind of a risk you getting it. Yeah, maybe you can trade that bag of lentils for an egg, but still, if you like pinto beans instead of lentils, get pinto beans. Doesn't matter if they're 5 cents more expensive than lentils. So get your food on lock and get it secured. I don't even know if I have to give an example for self-defense, but you need to have a perimeter. You need to have self-defense, and you need to have in your header on the piece of paper that you write SHTF Scenario Survival Guide, Blueprints and Plans to Survive Teotihuacan. Step number 1, make a plan. You need to have a bug out. You need to be able to evade. You need to be able to defend. There may be so many people coming to your house that you cannot defend what you have. So you need to cut and run and get out of there and take care of the family, your animals, the things that depend on you. Don't be a little wuss and just say see ya and then take off on yourself and cower behind some car hoping they don't see you while they're having their way with your family and your animals. But there's ammo shortages still, and it's been like that for 2 years, 3 years now. One would make me think, if there's tin shortages and there's everything like that, how long before there's brass shortages? If you're going to reload, sooner or later they wear out, but do you have everything that you need to be able to reload? If you don't have everything you need, and if stuff runs out, do you know how to make what you need and the ingredients that you have to be able to reload? Stock up on your ammo, because it's getting hard to find. The prices are going up a little bit. It's going to be even harder to find. Make sure you have spare parts for all of the freedom sticks and attention getters that you have, because a broken one isn't going to do you good. You remember the old time Superman episodes, the serials or whatever, where the bad guy would, you'd bang, 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 and he'd run out, so he'd just grab it and he'd throw it, and Superman would be like, haha, you're not going to, oh, no. I always thought that was funny. He just reflected bullets, but he had to dodge the thing getting thrown at him. Didn't make much sense to me. But what are you going to do? Do you have alternative forms? Can you sharpen a stick pretty quick? Do you have a whole lot of ball bearings with a slingshot? Are you good with a bow? You need that stuff, because securing your food, you may need to hunt. I don't have to tell you about all of the defense stuff, because we're getting attacked from the east, we're getting attacked from the west, we're getting attacked and invaded from the north and the south and from the skies, and we're getting invaded from within, because they're trying to take our rights away from us and everything. You have to worry about that. You have to worry about threats, foreign and domestic. You have to worry about if there is a roving gang of marauders that like to jump on cars and punch out windows and burn buildings down and steal everything because they think they can get away with it, because the government's shown them they can get away with it. So if they're doing it now, when there are certain repercussions, how much more will they do it if there's no repercussions? The people that are doing it now have no soul and no morals. And you're going to see more of that. You're going to see crime go up. It's already going up with car thefts and all of that junk, but you're going to see it get worse and worse, because the economy is getting worse and worse, and food is getting scarcer and scarcer, and people are losing their nut about what's coming. What are they going to tell us on our cell phones for the national emergency broadcast next month? What's going to happen the day after tomorrow? What is NASA going to tell us about these flying aliens and UFOs and everything like that? Are we going to get invaded? People are worried to death about that. And you have to worry, can you protect yourself? Sooner or later, you're going to have to. You can run and run and run and run and evade and hide and all of that, but sooner or later, you're going to need to fight. Are you trained? Are you prepared? Do you have what you need? Can you make a weapon out of a paper clip if you need to, because everything else is gone? Keep that in mind. But those are the major categories that you need. Spiritually, breathe, drink, find shelter, have medicine, eat, and protect yourself. When you start thinking about those categories and you base them and you lump sum them and everything like that, I'm sorry, something just flew past my window. When you think about those, then you can start establishing a plan. And while you're thinking about all of the bad things that can be happening in the next 9 months or tomorrow or 50 years from now, when you're busy stressing about that stuff, keep in mind what you may need to do so you can be ready for it. God willing, we'll see you tomorrow.